3, 2, 1. Hello, one and all, and welcome to our 4th episode of the Law Student Podcast. My name is Dean, and today I'm joined by our fantastic Secretary and Relations Manager, Oliver Pipe and Grace McGann.
Good morning.
Morning, how are we?
So guys, why don't we introduce ourselves? Oliver?
So I'm Oliver Pipe. I'm a third-year Bachelor of Laws International Business student, and I'm the Relations Manager for 2021.
Awesome,
Yes.
Grace.
And as Dean has said, my name is Grace McGann, and I'm studying Bachelor of Laws and Government and International Relations, and I'm also in my 3rd year, and I'm the Secretary of 2021.
Awesome, guys. So today's podcast is all about, mentoring and networking. So first off, I think it'd be nice for listeners to know where we come from with this, what our own experiences are. So personally, I've had sort of mentors, and I've been a mentor and had mentors throughout my whole law school experience, pretty much, starting with our own girls mentoring program my first year.
Yeah.
And then also through my New Colombo Plan scholarship, I've had a lot of mentors with that, and now I'm also mentoring some students through that process. And I've had a couple of industry mentors through the Griffith Industry Mentor program as well, which is also super.
Great program, yeah.
Yeah, and those, I suppose, just the how would you say, the official mentors and mentees.
Yeah, I think you can also, I think it's a bit underestimated how you can actually have mentors through your friendships as well.
Definitely.
Like in a more social setting, I think that's also a way we can get some mentoring through.
So what about you guys?
So I've actually been afforded the opportunity to have a mentor. So I did this through the Griffith Industry Mentoring Program.
Yep.
A final year student actually put me onto this. It was she just recommended that I try it out, and luckily met Manisha. She's a great mentor. Been on for about a couple of months now, and it's just been great to have someone there, to talk to and stuff like that. But then also I've been really lucky to be able to mentor some younger students in a less professional setting. Just, talking to students in their first years, getting them through, and, it's really great to pass that down. But, yeah, mentoring has been a big part of my career so far early on. So,
absolutely.
Even outside of law, outside in my general work. So, it's great to have a mentor.
Yeah, well, for me, since my first year, I've had a mentor through the Griffith Honours College, and that has been just the most amazing experience. And then, again, a lot of informal mentors, mainly through older students, through Honours College, and then, throughout the law school. And then this year, I'm actually a mentor myself, which is really exciting, through the Griffith Honours College, the law school.
Yeah, don't get mixed up.
And, yeah, I'm having so much fun with that, because I just, when we were younger, it was so good to hear all the things that the older students had.
Definitely.
So to be able to give that back and just, kind of coach and nurture another student, it's just really, it's really nice. Yeah, I've enjoyed it.
So, guys, like Oliver, you've already talked about, I think we should sort of set some boundaries about what we're talking about. So, there's these official mentoring programs. So, for example, you'll find here in the law school or through the industry mentoring program. Those are people where, you get put into a pool and you get assigned a mentor, basically. Or, there's someone maybe you've met at an event or met at uni, or just, is maybe an older student in the same friendship group. Yeah, and that's a sort of more informal mentoring program.
Yeah, I think there is definitely two sides to it, and I think they both give great benefits.
So I think the way I personally think of mentors is they are someone you would like to be, or you think you might want to be in, say, 3, 10, 15 years' time, depending on, obviously, how old they are and how far along they are in their profession. Yeah. So let's talk about now, and we've hinted at it just before, why is it actually important to have a mentor, especially during maybe your first year at school or your first couple of years?
I think, a law degree by its very nature it's such a long process that you go through, and it's quite intense. And I think it's really important that people have these confidence that they can go to throughout their degree. It can be stressful, sometimes you need advice, and to just have that support network, I think, is really important.
Yeah, and I think just being able to speak to someone that's been in your shoes, someone that actually understands the process of being in law school and going through those same struggles, and there's also a lot of other benefits, I think, even just having someone that's a trusted advisor, someone that can guide you and just assist you with things that you're having issues about, some concerns and some queries. I think it's great to speak to someone that, has also overcome those, because I do think that a lot of the struggles we go through are actually quite common. You know, everyone's worried about getting a job. Everyone's worried about the same sorts of things.
Yeah.
So speaking to someone that's kind of overcome those boundaries can really help guide you and help you just gauge where you're at.
Even if it's just like a sort of physical representation of someone who's done it and gotten through the other side.
Exactly. I remember in my first year, I started contract law, and we went in and we had like all these hypotheticals, and I was in week 3, and I wanted to do law my whole life, so I got to week 3 and I was like, this is so difficult, and I kept looking up at third year students going, oh my god, like they're amazing, I can't believe they've gotten through that. So I just think I just think it would have, and you know, I lived on we lived on college, so you're often around older students, and it was just really reassuring to hear them go, you know, you've been thrown in the deep end, this is really new to you, but like, you know, you'll get used to it.
And I think it also validates it as well. You know, it validates you that your concerns are normal. You know, it's when you first come in, you're very worried. You think, am I the only one going through this? But you realise you're not. And I think just speaking to someone older than you that has like been through that, it just helps validate your concerns, and you know, really lets you know that it's okay and that, you know, you will get through it with some hard work, but you will get through it. So
and I think even so that's more towards, or it's more geared towards student mentors, so having an older student mentor. But likewise, I think having an industry mentor or someone who's maybe 2, 3, 5 years in the profession out of law school, I think it's also good because at law school we obviously do contract law, criminal law, blah 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 blah. You know, the theory.
There's so much more outside of that.
I think it gives you perspective on what you're actually studying as well.
Yeah.
Seeing sort of not necessarily what the end goal is, but you know what these 4 to 5.5 years of your study is actually going to culminate to at the end. So, and I think it's really interesting to hear what people have to say. You know, what you can actually take away from law school, and you know, maybe the things that you don't use so much. Yeah, I mean, that's what I've enjoyed out of it, is that perspective.
And I think another component of it is just having someone that really understands and can see your potential as well.
Yes.
I think a lot of students do sometimes question whether they're good enough to be in law school, and they question whether, you know, they'll ever make it. And I think just having someone that can really see that you're capable and, you know, can help guide you. Like, I know personally my mentor, she's been really great at helping me understand that, you know, I can get through it and that I am capable, and, you know, it's just a case of getting there. So I think just having someone that can guide you and just someone that you can confide in about everything.
Yeah,
it's
I think
just,
we all suffer from a bit of imposter syndrome
Yeah,
in law school. So
definitely.
to just have people look out for you and go, you know what, I think this would be a good avenue for this. And it just provides you with a lot of direction, because sometimes you just don't know where to go. Like, grades are so important, but then there's, you know, so many other things that
and
are
because
important
working in
as
law
well.
is so open, you know, it's not necessarily just being in court. There's so many things you can do. You can do so much more. So
yeah, and your grades really are just one aspect of it. It really is the whole networking situation.
I think just having a mentor just helps you so much with perspective. Like, you realise how much bigger things are than what you think they are, and there's just so much more avenues and different things you can do.
Like, and even just someone to ask those stupid questions to.
Yeah.
Like, you know, what's a QC?
Definitely.
What's an SC? You know, all that. Like, what even is a barrister compared to a solicitor? You know, what's front of house and back of house in corporate law? Like, just all those questions that you don't really learn at uni per se.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Where they just throw them around the profession like
And sometimes it's questions you think you should know.
Yeah.
And then you realise that a lot of people actually don't know them. And when you ask, you do feel a bit hesitant to ask. But when it's someone you trust, like a mentor, it's someone you trust, someone that you know, appreciate and respect, and you know that they're going to give you exactly the correct answer, and they're going to tell you how things are, and they're not going to sugarcoat it to you. So I think speaking to someone in more of a formal setting about those stupid questions, even though no question is stupid, I think it's just great to have someone else to ask, you know, because everyone has those same thoughts. So, you know, I just think get out and ask.
Yeah, 100%. So maybe let's flip it on its head. Let's say, you know, you're an older student, maybe in your 4th year, 5th year, whatever, and why would you take time out of your day to mentor someone yourself?
I think mentoring, like reverse mentoring, is also a really good thing to talk about. But just mentoring someone else, it gives you so much personal satisfaction, and on top of that, it's creating the chain link. So the things you're learning from your mentor, you can pass down to your mentee, and it creates that chain link of everyone being able to pass it down. And I think that really helps the profession. I've noticed a lot of people in the profession, have had a mentor and they've got a mentee now, and they pass it on, and it keeps the profession moving. So I think there's so many benefits to being a mentor as well, and just being able to help someone and give someone advice that you wish you had when you were starting.
Yeah.
And just, being there for someone is just something so invaluable to me.
I think it's quite grounding as well, because when you're around someone who's still fresh and super excited about their degree, and everything's new, it sort of just reminds you, why you started and how you started,
and why you're in it,
how far you've come. It's like first
Really.
wake-up foundations.
I know when I've been speaking to my mentee about foundations and things, I'm like, oh my god, I can't even remember that stuff. Like you just that does happen. But yeah,
and I think it's also just it does build good professional skills as well. Like if you look at it purely personally point of view, it looks great on your resume if you say I was a mentor in the Girls 2021 mentoring program, blah blah blah, and it also networking. That student is going to be someone in the profession that's 4 years below you, 4 years your junior, hopefully.
Definitely.
Communication, talking to someone, having that. It's also a confidant for you as well. Yeah.
And also, I think the thing is, the highest level of understanding is in fact teaching. So if you can fully understand things, and you're teaching a younger mentee, it actually shows you that you fully understand things, and I think that's also quite reassuring for yourself.
I also think if we're going to touch more on the girls mentoring program, not only do you have, I guess, like your own mentee-mentor relationship, but we also have so many other events as well where we all get to band together. Like last week,
as a student body as a whole.
Yeah, last week we had a really nice breakfast and lunch in the girls' office here, and it was just really lovely to meet everyone, and everyone's just so sociable. Like you're all there for the same reasons. We all love law. We all,
want to do well.
Yeah.
We're a lot more alike than we think.
And
we
are.
More alike than we think. Yeah.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I think it's a good time to switch up to the other side of this episode. So, networking. So, why would, if you're a first-year student, and I don't know about you guys, but this was definitely me in my first and second year, I was like, why would I want to go to a networking event and put a suit on and, make small talk?
People you don't know,
and just meet random people who scare you. But why would you? Let's say talk to little Dean 2 years ago. Why would little Dean want to go to a networking event?
Look, I think the thing is, I know there's the build-up, it's the anticipation of going, which makes you very anxious. But once you're there, you actually realise it's really great. And I think my first event was the Banco Court event, which is a first-year event, for those who don't know, where we all go out to the court and you meet all the first-year students and, you listen to some really great professionals speak about their experiences and stuff. And you just get to build amazing relationships with people, and you get to spark some conversations, some really great conversations with people. And, networking is such an underrated aspect of being a student. You get to build relationships. It's probably the best part of being a student, to be honest, So getting out to these events is really good to, just get to know some other people and get to know some familiar faces, I remember after going to the Banco Court next week at uni, I was like, I remember this person. I remember speaking to this person, It was just made it a bit easier to be at uni.
Yeah, and those events usually have speeches, from people in the industry as well, which I always find extremely motivating. And then afterwards, I just think it's really interesting to talk to people and see what everybody else is doing, because you realise that law can take you in so many different avenues, and it's not like you become a lawyer or you become a barrister or whatever. It can just be used, in so many different aspects. And I think
definitely.
From what, in my personal experience, talking to other students or talking to people in the industry, they've made me think about things that I didn't even know were an option.
Yeah.
And that's why I like them, really, because you get out of your own little bubble that you have of, I mean, especially now in COVID as well, when uni's, mostly online. Yeah,
and I think also with those, those speakers, those keynote speakers, a lot of the time they are doing things which are a bit out of the ordinary. I remember listening about a foundation that they were doing, one of the speakers were doing, and just hearing the different things you can do. And, there's just so many different things you can get out of networking. I just can't rave about it enough.
Yeah,
It's just amazing. So get
I
out
love
there.
talking to people.
Yeah.
Like, you can never shut me up. So
I know.
yeah.
Just get out to these events. I think is the greatest advice I have. Just get out to these events. You know, tackle it on, and everyone else is probably feeling just.
And
as
they're so
anxious
fun
as you.
too. Like, it's not just professional. Like, I mean, everyone's usually having a drink together. Like, it's
Have
just
a laugh.
it's such a good experience.
It's kind of like mentoring. All the advantages from mentoring just multiplied by every single person.
Oh, definitely.
So, you know, you're learning about different areas in the profession. You know, you're talking to people, you're sort of not confiding as much as you would, but you're having that discussions about, you know, yourself and your path in law and their path in law and similar opportunities and possibility. But it's like, 100 people used to be before COVID. 100 people.
You just get so much perspective, and, you know, you listen to everyone else's ideas, and it makes you really think, and it sparks a lot of thoughts in your head, you know, so those conversations you have there could completely change your career. So
and also a lot of recruiters go to these events, and if you want to look at it once again in a purely selfish point of view, if let's say, you know, a recruiter for pick firm X is there, and, you know, you strike up a chat with him or her, you know, about, you know, oh, how you going, Dan? Yeah, I'm wealthy, whatever. And then say in a year's time they're sitting across from you interviewing you for a clerkship or a graduate position. A friendly face can only help.
Definitely. Absolutely. I've got a friend, and we often go to events together, and she's so on the ball. She's like, I know this person, this person, this person, and she just has lined up who we're going to go speak to. I'm still trying to gain that confidence, but, you know, because it can be daunting walking up to people and just going, hi, I'm this person, you know, but goes a long way.
Yeah, and I also think people are a lot more approachable than we think. I remember when I first started, I was like, I'm really scared. You know, there's this big persona that lawyers are big, bad, scary people. But they're actually very approachable. And, you know, you start speaking to people and you think, wow, like, why haven't I done this before? I remember the first time I cold called someone, I was like, hey, like, this is who I am, this is what I do. And they were very receptive to it. They were very approachable, and it was very great to just have a conversation with them. So I think, you know, just remember that they are people as well, and it can really open up that networking for you and just build those relationships. You know, it's always great to have familiar faces, and it's great to have people you can contact and say, hey, I need some help. So
someone once told me that probably one of the best pieces of advice I've ever got thus far is that lawyers love talking about themselves.
Yes.
That's the best thing they love talking about.
There you go.
So if you go, oh my God, you do just construction law, you know, I love that. Yeah, tell me all about it. It's really interesting. I hear there's a dispute with XYZ building. I'd love to know your thoughts on it.
Yeah.
And I go, well, actually, I was working on that case, you know, 5 years ago. You know.
Yeah.
And I'd love to talk about it.
It actually comes on the backbone of being prepared, you know, before you go to these events, if you know who's going to be there, do some research, have a look at their LinkedIn, you know, it does show that you'll see them, but check out their LinkedIn, check out...
Oh, no, you can put private mode on LinkedIn.
So check out...
Do you have to pay for it?
No. You've got to get onto it.
Special tip, I've just learnt this recently. Somebody told me this the other week. There's a setting on LinkedIn where you can just take...
So, you know, if you don't want them to know who you are, put yourself on private, have a look at their LinkedIn page. Also, check out where they're working. So a lot of law firms will have a little spiel about each person that works there. So get out, you know, see what they're up to, see what they've been doing, see what they've done in their career, and, you know, that's a really great way to spark that conversation. So if you're a bit anxious about just going to someone saying, hey, how are you going? You can say, hey, I recognize you from doing this, like you're involved in this case, like da-da-da-da. So, you know, doing that research can really help you. So if, you know, if you go to an event where, you know, there's people there, or even on LinkedIn, if you're messaging on LinkedIn, you know, do some research and spark up a conversation about them. You know, always, my best advice is always give before you take.
Yeah.
So if you can have that conversation about them first, and they're probably going to be a lot more receptive to talking to you about you.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Actually, that's a really good point. So I would like to talk about LinkedIn. What do we think of, and I would personally say this has changed a lot in the last 12 months, about networking and meeting people and meeting mentors and meeting people you like to chat to on LinkedIn.
Yes.
Look,
you've had a good experience.
Yeah, look, LinkedIn is a very, very great platform.
It's an interesting platform.
Yeah, it's a very great application if you use it correctly. I think there's an art form to it.
100%.
I think the biggest thing about LinkedIn is being genuine, you know? It's so transparent when you're disingenuous, you know? If you're messaging someone saying, hey, I want a job, like, you know, it's very disingenuous and they're probably going to turn you away. They're probably not going to respond to you. But when you actually use it for effective things, like, you know, I love doing this. I love commenting on posts, you know? People will post things, commenting, get in the comment section, have a comment, see what,
I think
see
my
what's
favourite
happening.
thing about LinkedIn is how we all comment on each other's LinkedIn. Like, we don't know each other.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
It's such a positive, you know, it's
Yeah,
such
like,
a positive thing.
Well done, Oliver.
So
Fantastic job.
You know, like, congratulations, you got this role. Like, we went with you throughout the whole process.
Yeah.
And the stressing of whether you'd get it. I love that.
Yeah, I just love using LinkedIn just, you know, just to see what's going on in the industry, you know, and commenting and having some really good conversations with people. I've had some very great experiences. Reached out to a few people on LinkedIn, you know, you hear back from some, you don't. But I've had some really great conversations. I managed to have a few phone calls with people. A bit more of a one-off mentoring session, but it's been really great. You know, I've had some really great phone calls over the years from LinkedIn, and, you know, I've spoken to people on LinkedIn and seen them at events, or in fact, I'm currently volunteering at the Bayside Community Legal Service, and I came about that from LinkedIn. So there was someone on there posting, hey, like, we want volunteers, and I messaged them, reached out and said, hey, like, this is a really great opportunity. Could we have a chat about it? Had a chat about it, got on board, and now I'm there. So I think LinkedIn is a very great platform if you use it correctly. You know, if you're going in for the thought of, I want a job, I need someone to mentor, you know, I don't think you'll get anything out of it. I think it's all about being genuine, you know, being genuinely interested in what's going on and talking to people and getting to know people, because if you're disingenuous, it comes off very apparent.
Yes. There's also a lot of advice on LinkedIn as well. There's this Canadian lawyer that I follow on there, and he posts every day. Like, I'm just in awe, and they're honestly such amazing, like, nuanced arguments as well. And a lot of his posts reflect on things he wished he knew in law school, or, you know, when you leave, this is how it's actually going to be. And I absolutely love seeing those things. And like you were saying, in the, you know, in COVID, it's really important that everybody, like, has really band together over this app. And one thing I've actually noticed on it more so recently is people actually being upfront about not their, like, failures, but perhaps, you know, when
some challenges,
challenges that they've gone through, or, you know, they've applied for this job and didn't get it, and, like, dealing with that rejection.
Taking the varnish off a bit.
I think so too. I've definitely seen that it's not so
this is me,
this
how
is
good
what
am
I've
I?
done, you know,
it's not all about the bragging, and I think that's what makes it even better.
Yeah.
And, you know, also just touching on being connected through a COVID world, there's a lot of groups you can get in on LinkedIn. There's a lot of groups. I'm in a few, like, law student groups, and it's tips for law students. What can I do as a law student? You know, speaking to lawyers, and they say, when I was a law student, this would have been great advice. So I think LinkedIn has some amazing features, but I do think the key is being genuine. You know, and that goes the same with the whole of networking and mentoring. You know, it's all about being genuine. So it always comes back to that for me.
And follow Goals on LinkedIn. There's one.
Definitely get on Goals.
Yes. Well, obviously, when we see stuff on LinkedIn that we like, I try and share it on the Goals LinkedIn page. Like, I've been sharing a couple of James Davenport stuff.
I've noticed a few of that. Yes, I have.
I love him. I'm generally a big fan of his, and I love his stuff.
I love his content.
Yeah, about, like, and he does obviously case notes, but he also does a lot of young lawyer tips, which is great.
It's great. Some stuff you really, you know, you wouldn't hear elsewhere. So,
excuse me. One of his big tips is don't F up the same way twice, which is actually you think, no joke, obviously, but it's actually such a good tip. You know, it's fine to make a mistake,
but learn from it.
Don't do it twice.
And you learn most from a mistake than you do from success. I think you learn more. So,
oh, definitely.
So let's say, once again, hypothetical scenario, you know, you're a second year student, let's say, and you've found a potential mentor either through like a professional program like ours, or the industry mentoring program, or you've even found someone on LinkedIn or at an event, and you want to talk to them more and you want to chat with them. What should we do? What should they do? What's their sort of first steps?
I think the first step before you even go to the event is going with the right mindset. I think that is such an underrated aspect, you know. Go in there with the great mindset, you know, go into these events being ready to have conversations, you know, be genuine, be in the right mindset for it. And then once you're in the right mindset, I think being punctual is so important, you know. Get to these events early, see if you can speak to people before you go into the event, you know, have some great conversations, just be genuine. And I think, like, I keep coming back to it, but it's just so important. And then also giving before you take. So just have a conversation with them. Hey, like, I've heard that you've been working here recently. How's your experience? Da 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 da. And then, you know, have a great conversation and then follow up. I think, you know, send an email, get a contact from them, send them
Ask
an email.
them for coffee. Like, honestly, it's really about building connections. And if you can just sit down and have a coffee with someone in a conversation, it doesn't even necessarily have to be, like, you know, work-related to begin with. Just getting to know each other. Even picking up the phone. I know our generation really don't like
calls.
The phone calling.
But, you know, nothing beats a good phone call once you're actually on the phone call.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I think Oliver, and you keep coming back to it, but it's so true. Don't just be genuine. Don't run up to someone and be like, Oliver, I want to be your mentee.
Yeah, definitely.
Just be like, Oliver, I hear you're working at XYZ.
Yes.
I've followed them on LinkedIn. They seem to be doing some awesome things. I'd love to hear about what your time there has been like.
Yes.
And it sounds does sound a bit like brown nosing, but as long as it comes from a genuine place, I don't think that matters.
I mean, I've had like, if we're going back to LinkedIn a little bit, I've had messages, you know, when I've posted that I've done an internship or something, and people have just messaged me and be like, this is actually the area I want to be in. Could you just tell me how you got to this point? Not, like, necessarily asking, oh, could you get me somewhere? But can I just want to know how you've done it. Which I think is really nice because...
It's really great. It's really great for people to appreciate who you are and what you've done. And it really opens your mind up to things. You know, if someone comes to you with a genuine approach and they say, hey, I absolutely loved your work on this, like, I would love to talk about it. You know, it makes you really happy and you go, okay, I would love to talk about this. And you get really interested with them. And you build that genuine spark. You know, we're all humans at the end of the day. And, you know, everyone enjoys having connections and, you know, getting to know people for who they are rather than their roles. So
I think it does go back to the lawyers want to speak about themselves. I think it's probably true about law students
too.
Like,
law students love it, in my experience. They just love it.
I've done this. Let me tell you about it.
I'm brilliant. Thank you for noticing.
Thank you so much.
Exactly, and it's such a subtle difference. It is the difference between going, hey, I saw you did this, I'd really love to chat with you about it, and go, hey, you did this, get me that.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's very subtle, but it makes 100 degrees of difference.
Always give before you take. Golden tip.
So let's say, you know, you've met someone, you've chatted with them on LinkedIn, whatever, you met at an event, you've arranged to go for coffee.
Yes.
That first meeting, what's the tips for that?
Show up on time.
Yeah, show up on time.
Be punctual, be respectful, and come prepared.
Yeah.
You really want to go into the conversation with some key questions you've got. So when I had my first conversation, there was a few questions that I had, and I said, I really want to get on these topics. But it wasn't a case of sitting there and going, hey, such and such and such, and then asking 3 questions back to back. It was having conversations and veering toward those topics that really helped.
Making sure you're actually listening. You're not just sitting there waiting to ask the next question. Like, you're really taking in what they're saying.
Have a conversation. It's not an interview. It's not an interrogation. Have a good conversation. You know, you'll learn so much more from a conversation than if you ask a question, because if you're asking a question, normally you're very closed off to answering that question. So I think, you know, just have prepared questions and, you know, obviously things veer different ways, but just be prepared and, you know, get to know who they are, because, you know, everyone loves talking about themselves. So listen to them, read what they're going on, and just have some things that you can talk about. And then, you know, things will eventually veer to the way they're going, but just research, you know, be prepared, be respectful. You know, people have great ideas and, you know, they can give you some really great advice. And if you're just too thoughtful of those questions you have, you might miss out on all that key information that they could have given you. So
I think you also need to remember as well that these are really busy people and they've taken the time out of their day to, you know, sit with you, have a coffee with you, and you should, you know, really be appreciative of that.
And show that appreciation through the way you have the conversation.
Yeah, and, you know, even follow up as well. Send them
Following
an
up with
email,
an email, you know.
LinkedIn message.
As you said, everyone's very busy, and, you know, just getting a nice thank you email can completely change your day. So I think thank you for taking the time out to speak to me. You know, it was really great. Would love to, like, reconnect with you at some point, you know. And that follow-up email, not only are you showing appreciation, but you're also building the opportunity to, you know, have another meeting, have another conversation, and build it more ongoing. So
and even even like the next conversation might be, you know, I know that you're speaking about this, I've actually gone and applied for this, you know, and just filling them in on where you're at, not necessarily being like, oh, can we do this? It's like, I've taken this on board, I just want to keep you updated on where I am. And then they might be able to give something
I think that's something I really picked up on recently with my mentor. You know, when I first started, it was all, oh, I kind of need to know the stuff, I want to know the stuff. But now it's like a catch up. It's like, oh, you applied for this, how's this going? Or oh, you just recently started doing this. How's this going? And then you start to build a relationship, and I think it becomes deeper than service level. And I think that's when you can have a really great connection with someone. Is when you get deeper than that service level. So, and the only way you get there is by having those conversations. It's by reaching out and getting to know people. So, just always try and get deeper than the service level. If you ask a question that says, oh, I know you work here, I want to work here. It's very closed off. But you say, oh, I notice you work in, like, let's say commercial law. What are some avenues I can take to get into commercial law? And they can open a really good conversation up there. So, and then
why do you find it interesting? Things like that as well.
It just opens so many avenues for you, and I just think networking is just the way to go in this day and age.
Yeah, 100%. So maybe someone's listened through this far in the podcast and they want to know, well, okay, what can I do? So what programs, we've talked about a couple, what programs are there out there for young law students?
So the one I have had the most success with is the Griffith University Industry Mentoring Program. So they are about to take Try 2 applications, and so definitely get on board with that. You get onto the program, you have a look at a few people's profiles, who they are, what they do. You try and connect with them. If they want to connect with you, they'll connect with you, and then you just go through and you just have some great conversations. And then we've also got a lot of things through Girls. So we've got the Girls Mentoring Program. I think you could probably touch on that a bit more, Grace.
Yeah, so I've just joined that this year. We've got quite a few events coming up at the moment. Well, we've had a mentoring breakfast that's just passed. And then through that program, we sort of like promote our other events. So we've got a wellness and law breakfast that's coming up, and
Monday, 24th of May, get down there and have
tickets next Monday. Yes.
Definitely get involved.
Early morning in the city breakfast. Interesting conversations.
And then also we have the clerkship seminars. I think they're a really great way to get in a network. So we have Alan's clerkship seminar, which is on the 27th of May. And then we also do have many others through the year.
And we've had a few others as well, which I think have they been filmed, those ones? Or?
No.
No, they haven't been filmed.
So I think just get there, and the thing is, it's easy to sit there online and watch a recording of something, but when you can get there, you can go and have conversations, you can go and ask those questions. You're speaking to some very, very top professionals that have been in the industry for quite a while, so I think they're just invaluable. And then you've got the Meet the Profession evenings.
That's such a good event. That's one of the best networking events of the year.
Value how much that is. That's normally in early July, right?
Yeah, we got one coming up in early July.
Yes.
Yeah, so keep an eye out for that one on the law school page, and we'll advertise it as well, obviously.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much to both of you for coming on.
Thank you for having us.
No, I'm sure it was very insightful for all of our listeners. Well, thank you all for listening.
Yes, thank you.
See you next time on the Law Student Podcast.